What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 is back to do another 2013 review, and for this one I am going to be reviewing the new album from the band Autopsy entitled The Headless Ritual. And plus, if this setting of lighting is quite bad, I apologize. I know that the light is just over there, not right here. Anyways, if you're not too familiar with Autopsy, they are a death metal band from California, and like other bands from the 80s, Death, Cannibal Corpse, and just a few others, Autopsy had been one of the earliest pioneers of the death metal genre. And, considering that Death's Scream Bloody Gore was known as the first death metal album ever, Severed Survival, Autopsy's debut, had been one of the very first death metal albums, and they are just one of these very influential and inspiring bands for the new side of newer bands from the death metal world that we have today, from other bands like Defeated Sanity, Devourment, and Immolation, Wormed, Suffocation, and there was, Nile, amongst the other ones. And I always find Autopsy really enjoyable from pretty much most of their albums. So, yeah, I was actually surprised that this album was released, The Headless Ritual, and me and my buddy David, aka King of the Corpses 666 on YouTube, are really fond of Autopsy, and I was introduced from Autopsy from one of my favourite reviewers, George, aka That's Not Metal. Shout out to him. I'll put his channel link in the description below so you can check him out. And I checked out Severed Survival, and it is a blast of death metal. It is a complete masterpiece, and got into Autopsy. So I checked out this album, and to me, The Headless Ritual, to be quite honest with you, is quite a little bit of a different type of direction for this album. Surely it still has the very heavy and awesome aggressive style of sound. Autopsy's music had been going through some different changes throughout the years when it comes to like the later albums after their release of the second album, Mental Funeral. Their musical styles just keeps changing and just goes different from here on out. But I think with this album, really moves back into like their older roots of the death metal genre. So that is a really good thing on the album. And the record label is Peaceville Records, and the cover art is just really, really well done, and it's just a lot of these faces with a lot of pieces of the skull and skeleton pieces with gore behind them, and it just looks really realistic with the classic Autopsy logo on the top, and just some pretty satanic, evil type of artwork. So yeah, throughout most of the tracks on the album, I think that Autopsy have done really quite well by a lot of the tracks on this album. And if you want to check out some like early death metal for the newcomer fans of death metal, I think check out Severed Survival, Autopsy's debut album, amongst the other ones like the early Cannibal Corpse or the early Death, amongst the other ones, since the bands of death metal from the 80s were that so big and gigantic that later death metal bands got really influenced and inspired by the works of the other death metal acts from the 80s. So, yeah, the production on this album is really quite perfect, and the guitar playing on the album is pretty much really quite simplistic here and there. Although I think there are some pieces of some pretty unique, solid work of guitar solos here and there. And, you know, when it comes to the guitar playing with this album, it's quite simplistic. And also the drumming as well. The drumming is still a bit like the guitar work. It's quite a bit heavy, but which is heavy, but what I meant to say, it's like a bit simplistic like the guitars, but I do not have any problem with that. I couldn't talk properly there, but yeah, the bass guitar work is really good, and the sounds of the bass guitar and the electric guitars are still really having their own really heavy vibes of just over-the-top distortion, and the drums sounded really good. The vocals on this whole album are still going pretty flawlessly, and they are just still really quite aggressive, and they are quite guttural at at some parts by most tracks. And another thing on the album, from when I listened to like some of the tracks, they can be quite a little bit repetitive, because there are like some song structures on these songs that are just repeated over and over and over, like just the same riffs, just being played repeatedly. But I think that's like a teeny tiny bit of downfall on the album, but other than that, this album is still really good. It's a really good album, and just check it out for yourself. I know this review is quite a bit brief, to be honest, but sorry guys, burped from the inside. Anyways, just check out Autopsy if you haven't yet, guys, and yeah, just tell me what you think of the album by telling me in the comments below. So that's just really basically all I've got to say about Autopsy's The Headless Ritual, and I'm going to give this album a 9 out of 10. A 9 out of 10. So, yeah, that's just my whole review on this album. Thank you guys for watching. Keep it metal.